Before I start, I know most of you would have got email about this. We are conducting OSCON after 2 years after the COVID break. That would be September 19th and 20th in St. Charles. That is, we are co-hosting with Washington University in St. Louis. And it would be a good chance to meet other end users. There will be talks by other end users, how they're using OpenSpecimen, and you will get to see some exciting new features. If you have any questions, reach out to us or we'll share the link with you at the end as well, so you can register if you're interested. So now let's go ahead and get started. Keep getting questions about how to add or edit data in bulk. So, it might be because you're a high throughput biobank, or you have a lot of data that you want to upload in bulk, or there is some test results you want to update for the specimens in bulk. So there are many use cases around this. So we'll be covering a few of them today. And in OpenSpecimen, almost every object or data can be bulk added or updated, or of course even deleted. So either through the user interface or to the bulk import using the comma separated value files, that is the CSV files. So we'll see some of those options today. And as we are developing new versions, we are trying to support more and more bulk operations through the user interface to make it easy for the end users, so that they don't have to handle, Excel sheets and CSV files. And some of these features which are already implemented, we'll show in the call today. We'll first cover the bulk operation through the user interface. Well, the first thing is the administrative data. So there are many, when I say administrative data, it's the things like users, sites, institutes. So when you want to set up a new group, the research groups or biobank in OpenSpecimen, you might want to create multiple users, multiple sites, containers, and so on. So there is bulk operations available for even administrative data. So we'll look at that. So I'm going to use public demo site. So for those of you who are new, we have a demo site which is publicly accessible, which is just demo.openspecimen.org. And we always have the latest release updated here. So right now, the release that we have updated released is 9.0, and we are currently working on 9.1. And as soon as I log in, this is the home page. So now, first to show you some of the administrative bulk operations, I'll go to users. So here, so in order to do bulk operations, you see that in the user list, you have this checkbox. You can click on that. And as soon as you click, you see that the options over here have changed. So these operations are available for, multiple users. Now, if you want to say edit all the users institute or some maybe primary site of that user or something, you can use this bulk edit operation. So when you do that, it will show you this form. So only these fields you're able to edit for multiple users at a time. And when I go back, I'll show you some more. So again, when I select these, so you see, this is one of the new features where you can now create user groups. User groups now can be used in multiple places, like sharing cards, sharing query folders, those kind of things can be used as user groups. So you can add multiple users into this user group. You can archive users. Suppose now a particular group is not using OpenSpecimen, and you want to archive a lot of users, so you can just select them and archive. So what I mean by archive is the data about these users will still exist in OpenSpecimen, but they'll not be able to log in anymore. And if they have been archived, you want to reactivate, you can do that. You can delete, you can unlock users, or if there are a lot of signed up users, you can approve them and so on. So these are some of the user interface level bulk operations that are available for users. And one of the other new features that we have done is, suppose I search for something. So let's say I search for specific institute users and I click on a particular user. So you see on the left hand side, that list is still existing. So it's kind of like you can edit even in this manner, that you can click on any user now for the ones that I searched for, and I can edit from this screen as well. So this kind of screen we have done in many list pages, where let me just go back. So if you see this, I can go back to the table view, and you see that whatever I searched for, it's still there. So that's not lost. So when I search something from the filters, and when I click, the search results are still shown, and I can do bulk operations or bulk edits like this by clicking on each one of them. So this is one of the new things that we have done on the list views. The next, again, the similar kind of edits are possible in other administrative data like sites, institutes, containers, and so on. They are more at the level of, say, for example, if I go to containers, and if I try to select the containers and just show you. So if I select, so right now, if you see, these are the only two operations available. I can delete or I can export. This export option is there for all administrative data. This is useful if you want to export the administrative data setups from one server, that is maybe the testing or the training server, and move it to another server. You can use export import feature. So when I say export, it only exports the structure of the freezer. So suppose you have, multiple -80 freezers you have set up, which has racks, shelves, boxes, and so on. So those freezer structures you can export, and then once you have exported those files, which is in a CSV file, on the production server, you can just import them. So you don't have to recreate new freezers on production server. So this export import, as I said, is available for users, sites, institutes, containers, so that you can move the setups from one server to another easily. Yeah. So those are some of the user interface operations, bulk operations available at the administrative data level. Now, similarly, if you go to biospecimen data, so let me go now inside a collection protocol and go to, say, participants list view. So you see, again, there are checkboxes over here. And if I try to click, I get these options. I can either edit or delete. So I can edit, and you see I get an option to select a field. So here I can say, okay, and these are the only fields that are available. Suppose I want to set the same race for both of those, whatever patients I selected, I can set that. Now I can select more fields. Suppose I want to set the gender. So I don't know the gender of these patients, so I can select that and update. So this way, what I'm trying to now do is bulk edit multiple participants at a time. And I can edit any number of fields like this, and the same value will be applied for all those patients that I just selected. So that's the participant level bulk operation. Similarly, we have this user interface bulk operations for specimen. So now this is very important part, because in daily operations, you mostly deal with specimens, and that's the reason we have supported this bulk operations of specimens in multiple pages, and that is through this actions button. So this actions button, you'll see multiple places wherever you see a list of specimens. So I'm going to give you some examples. One is when you're inside a protocol, and when you go to view specimens, you see this actions. So now suppose I select multiple specimens, and when I click on this actions, I see a lot of options over here. I can edit the specimen fields, I can print labels, delete the specimens, close them, distribute, ship, receive, and so on. Create child specimens, transfer them from one location to another. Add events, like if you want to add, say, centrifugation event, freeze event, and so on. So there are multiple things you can do from here, this actions button. And now this actions button, I'll give you a few lists where you can do. So one is this within the containers, when you are inside a box, for example, you see there is the specimens. And if I go to the specimens tab within the containers, again, I see this actions button. So now imagine you have a box in hand, and you want to do the same operation for all the specimens in that box. So maybe you you've did a centrifugation on all these specimens. So you select them, add event, then I'll make sure that the specimens are correct. Then I go to next. Then I can add spun event. So now what this would do is it will add spun event for all the specimens in that box. Of course, I can either select subset of also the specimens also, but I had selected all of them. And if you see, there is two modes. One is the form or the table mode. I'll first show you what the form mode is. So the form mode is you can just add one kind of data elements for all the specimens. So the same data would be added to all the specimens I selected. Or if I select the table mode, it would show the spun event fields in a table mode. So this is useful if the G-force is different for multiple specimens in this group that I selected. So these are two different options you can do: bulk, add, edit for events. And again, going back, that actions menu is there in the container specimens list view, protocol specimen list view, and within the patient, when say, for example, I'm inside a patient, and if I am inside a visit, if I select multiple specimens, I again get this actions menu. So you get this actions menu, as I said, in wherever you see list of specimens, you'll see this actions menu. The other important pages are the cards. So there is this card, which is like a pick list you can create. And within that pick list, if you see again, you have this actions menu. And it's there finally in the query results view as well. So all these pages, you have this actions menu where you can do bulk operations through the user interface for multiple specimens at a time. Now, when you are inside the protocol, there is another advantage is that if you have custom fields of specimens, even those can be bulk edited. I don't know if this protocol has any custom fields. Let's give it a try. Oh, it's not there. But when you're within the collection protocol, and if there are specimen custom fields, even those can be bulk edited for the specimens if you go from actions and edit. So those are some of the bulk operations available from the user interface. Now moving on. So as we saw that from these bulk operations, there's easy UI navigation, and through that list view kind of page where you can select and edit, that's also possible. Now we'll move on to the CSV import, which is the comma separated value file import. This is useful for especially for legacy data migration. So we work with a lot of clients where where we are onboarding them into OpenSpecimen, and they have their legacy data in other databases or Excel sheets or wherever, and we help them do data migration. So, and we extensively use bulk operations to do that. So the first thing is obviously to map their data fields to our fields, and once that is done, we use scripts to move their data into our templates and then upload it. So that is, again, this is one of the use cases to use bulk operations CSV file. The other is if you want to do integrations, like you have nano drop output that you want to put into OpenSpecimen for multiple DNA samples. Usually you get nano drop output for say 80 DNA samples, 100 DNA samples. You don't want to manually enter them one by one. So what you can do is you can create a template similar to that, and you can upload the data for that. So of course, you can either manually import it. Also, there is auto bulk import, which I'll show you. But these are some of the use cases. And of course, other than these two use cases, on a daily basis, if you have multiple data to edit, add, or delete, you can use bulk operations as well on a daily basis. So who can import? What kind of privilege do you need? You need to have import privilege. So most of the regular roles have import privilege. So if you go to roles, suppose you see this administrative role, every object like users, containers, you see that there is this export import privilege. So as long as you have this export import privilege on a particular data object, so you will be able to do the bulk import for that. So if, for example, for technicians, they'll have only bulk import operations for specimens and not the administrative data. So you can see this export import. So based on that, you will be able to do it. Of course, other than that, you'll need to have specific access to protocol or different containers to be able to bulk import data related to that. What is the file format that is possible to upload? It's by default it is CSV file, but because now we are supporting other countries, they needed semicolon separated. That's also supported now. So when you import data, you have that option where you can specify the field separator. So if you don't specify it, it will assume this is a CSV file, but if it's semicolon, you can put this, and if the file is semicolon separated, you'll be able to upload data in that. So that's one of the main thing you have to take care of, that when you're using bulk import in OpenSpecimen, the file that you create, you always save it as CSV file. Yeah. So now let's dive into the actual process that is involved in bulk operation. So the first step in the bulk operation is you download a template. So what is this template file? So now let me go back to my protocol. So I'm going to use this demo longitudinal protocol. So in order to bulk import, I have two options. One is I can use from this protocol list, I can use from here. This is useful if you're uploading data for across protocols. But if you're doing import within protocol, I would suggest you go inside protocol and do it. Because this will also support any custom fields you want to import. Yeah. So I'm in the participants list view. I click on more. I go into biospecimen data. So here, if you see, the first step is I need to select the record type. So suppose I want to upload, say, 100 patients today. So I'll select the record type. The first step in my workflow here is I need to download the template file. So what's a template file? I'm going to show that to you. So it's just an empty file with the headers. So this will look something like this, which will have all the fields of participant data entry, like first name, last name, date of birth, gender, and so on. So you need to map your data into these fields. You need to fill up the data exactly in this template and go back and upload the data. So you download the template, enter the data in that template, upload the file as a CSV file. So the file should always be .csv. And now once you upload, the system will give you a report. So there is what we call as view past import. This will show you whether the data was success or fail. And if it is fail, you will be able to download a report and see what is the problem, and then fix it and upload it back. So that's the general process. Now let's see some examples of how to do it. Before that, some of the tips for bulk import, how to avoid errors. One is, of course, use always the correct template. Even though you might be using a template frequently, we always recommend that you download the latest template from here, because sometimes when you upgrade to new versions, there might be minor changes in the template. So you always download the latest template from here. And when you're uploading, you make sure that you select the correct record type, because what happens is when you come to this page, it is always this is what is selected. And by mistake, you might upload a specimen file and the system will not recognize it. So you need to take care of two things. One is you select the correct record type, and you in the uploaded file, it should be the template matching to the template of this particular record type. That is the first error you need to make sure. Always save the file as CSV, because sometimes if you're using Excel, the Excel will by default save it as .xlx, and that will not work in OpenSpecimen. Use vocabulary defined in OpenSpecimen. Now what's this? So now when you're creating a new participant in OpenSpecimen, so you see that there are some fields which are drop downs. So this is what is standard vocabulary fields, like these are fixed values. So now for gender, I can't put things like FEM, right? I need to put the whole word as female. That's when the system will recognize that the gender is female. And similarly for vital status, you can't just put A for alive, right, in your data. The system now then will not recognize that. So for any fields that are drop downs or radio buttons or multi-select, so those kind of fields where there are fixed values, you need to make sure that you follow the same values that are in OpenSpecimen. And now if you want to refer what values are there is this drop down managers. You can go to extras and access the drop down manager to see the values in the drop down. But if you don't have access to drop down manager, we also have, let me just go into our wiki page now. This is the right time to show you that. If I go to participants CSV wiki page, here if you see, for every template, the standard templates of OpenSpecimen, we have a separate wiki page, and it has a data dictionary table which has every column in the template defined, and it also defines whether it's an optional field, and if it is a drop down field, oops, sorry, I clicked back by mistake. If it's a drop down field, it also lists the values here. So you will be able to refer to this as well when you do the bulk import. So that's the other tip, that you need to make sure that the values are matching to the enumerated values in OpenSpecimen. The next tip is you should not miss any mandatory fields. I just showed you that this page shows you which are mandatory. If you forget filling any of the mandatory fields, then the system will throw an error for that. So let's now proceed to looking at some of the examples. So the first one is the participants upload. So here, if you see, let me first show you that this protocol has the PPI auto-generated. So in my file, so let's see my examples now. And this is my participant. So I've already created a sample sheet. So what I've done is I've downloaded the template. I have populated the data into it. So as you see, the PPID, I have kept it blank because it's auto-generated. But in your CP, if it is not auto-generated, then this is mandatory. Registration date is also mandatory, but rest of the fields in participants are optional, because per protocol it might differ what kind of data you want to upload. But still, in my file, I've kept some of the fields, as you see: name, gender, race, vital status, and also the custom fields. So this is the reason I said you use the templates within the collection protocol. This would allow you to upload any custom fields as well. So, and that will automatically get added to your template. So as soon as you add any new custom fields or forms, they all get added to the templates. And that's why you see these are some marital status, contact number, address. These are not default fields of OpenSpecimen. We have added this as custom fields, which is specific to this protocol. So I've populated my data and I've made sure that I've saved the file as a participant.csv file. Now what I need to do is I need to select the record type as participant, choose the file I want to upload, and it's a create operation because I'm creating new records. But if it's update, you can use this. I'll come to these two options later. Then the date and time format. So if there are any date fields in your CSV, you need to make sure that they are in the same format. So suppose if you see here, they are in DDMM, YYYY, but you can keep any date format because you see there are so many date formats supported. But you need to make sure that you select the correct date and time format that is there in your CSV. So I have used this, as you see here. So I'm going to select that. And once I have done that, I click on validate and import. Yeah. So now if you see, it will come back to the past imports, and I had 4 records and they all completed successfully. So I'll go back and see if they got created. So if you see, the dummy patients got created over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So these were my records. If you see, these got created. And if I click on any patient, it will show me the name, vital status, gender, race, whatever I had, and the custom fields like marital status, contact number, address. So this way, of course, for demo purpose, I showed 4, but ideally you would use bulk operations when you want to upload hundreds of data. So you'll be able to upload the data in bulk that way. So that was the quick demo of the participant upload along with the custom fields, which are very specific to my protocol. So that's why what I did was I went inside the protocol and downloaded the template, which automatically had the custom fields, and uploaded it. So next one is master specimen. So now what is this template? So if I go back here, so if I want to upload specimen data, and if it's a participant centric study or protocol, I need to make sure that I upload participant, then the visits, then the specimens. Now, if I want to do all of them together, that is when I use this master specimen template. So now what is this template? I'll show you the file, how it will look like. I'm just going to close the other files. Yeah, so here if you see, this is the master specimen template. The reason it's called master is it's going to create participant, visit, and specimen, all 3 together. So if you see the initial fields, they're all participant level fields. Then comes the visit level fields, then the specimen level fields. So in the same file, I'm creating all 3 together. So now in this, I'm going to point out some things over here. I've left the PPID blank because it's auto-generated. But here, if you see, I have what I have is SSN. So this is a unique ID. And since I have 2 specimens for the first and second patient, I have kept the SSN same. So now what this will do is, the system will identify this as a new patient. For the first record, it will create a new patient. For the second record, it will identify that it is already an existing patient. So it will not create a patient, but it will create this second specimen under it. So this is how you need to create your master specimen template. If there are multiple specimens of the same patient, then every specimen will be a separate row. And for the patient and visit level fields, you need not repeat the field values. You can leave it blank and keep it only for the first record. But you need to make sure that you maintain some unique ID. For example, in patient, if PPID is not auto-generated, you can use that. Or you can use SSN, EMPI, MRN plus site. In visit, you can either use the combination of event label or visit date or visit name. And of course, specimen, if you're doing both parent and child, then you need to keep specimen label and parent specimen label. But right now I'm just creating all parent specimens over here. And I have populated other fields like dates, quantity, anatomic site, and so on. So this is how I create my master specimen template. So now I go here. Before that, I'm going to show you, I'm just going to change the names so that it will get added with something else. Okay, so because I have till 1, 2, 3, 4, hopefully this will work. Okay, so now I'm going to use this file. I'm just going to make sure I save it. Go here, biospecimen data, choose the correct record type. This is going to be now master specimen. Choose the file with the data that I have saved. Date and time format, I will again use DDMMYYYY. If you have time field as well, for example, in collection date and time, if you have time, you can use this as well. And then now I'm going to do validate and import. Okay, it says in progress. You can refresh it to see, okay, all 5 got uploaded. So now we are going to search for my SSN over here. come up with this patient. So if you see, the dummy patient got created with dummy patient 5, and SSN is the national identification number, gender, race. So the same patient has 1 visit, but 2 specimens. So if you see in my file, I'm going to reduce this a bit. I had 2 rows for the same patient with the same visit. So it got created with 2 specimens, which is the fresh tissue, gallbladder, and appendix. I'm going to click on the surgery. If you see, it created the gallbladder specimens with all the details I had entered. And there is also this appendix specimen. So now if you see, it also mapped it to my specimen requirements in the protocol. So the way that happens is, because I have specified the specimen requirement code over here, this is mapping to, if I go to my protocol, I had predefined the template for surgery event. And if you see in my specimen requirement, I had this code. I use the same code here so that it maps to these specimens. Of course, this is optional. If you don't want to map it to the requirements, you can leave this blank. It will create this as unplanned. That is, it will not map it to the requirements. So similarly, if I see the 3rd patient, it should have created only 1 specimen, which is the urine specimen, and it's under post-surgery event. So I'll go here, select this. There, if you see, this is post-surgery, and it has created only 1 specimen, which is the urine specimen. Okay. Yeah, so this is how you use master specimen template. And of course, in my protocol, the PPID and labels are auto-generated. But in your protocol, if they are not auto-generated, then you need to manually assign PPIDs and specimen labels, because those are mandatory. Yeah, so these 2 fields are mandatory. If it's not auto-generated, you need to specify it. So that's about the master specimen. It allows you to create participant, visit, and specimen together. The only restriction over here is, if you have custom fields at participant and visit level, they're not right now available in master template. You still have to go to the individual templates and upload the data. But if you have the plain default fields, this is a good template. Again, we use this for our data migrations because we don't have to do it in different steps. The next demo is for bulk edits. How do you do edit in bulk? Now, the first part of the steps remains the same. That is, you go to specimen data, you select what you want to edit. Suppose you want to edit specimens. So you want to specimen, you download the template file. But when you populate the data, so let me show you a specimen edit file now. And I'm just going to close all the other files. Okay. So now if you see, this has fewer columns than what is in the usual template, right? If you download the usual template, it has all the fields of specimens. I'm going to just compare and show it to you. Okay, so there is, if you see, there's labels, type, laterality, so many columns, right? But when you're updating, you don't have to keep all the columns. Of course, you can keep it and leave it blank. That's also possible. But to avoid confusion, I've just removed those columns because I'm only interested to update quantity, comments, and container. And what I've done is I've kept the specimen labels. So this is the main point you need to remember when you update data, that you need to keep a unique column for updating. For participant, it's PPID and protocol title as the combination. If you're updating visit, it's going to be visit name. If you're updating specimen, it can be specimen barcode or the label field. In my example, I've kept the label field. So now if you see this particular specimen, I'm just going to open it in a tab. Just going to search for this specimen. And so right now the available quantity is 1 ml and it does not have any location. And I'm also trying to update comments. It has no comments right now, right? So similarly, I have other aliquots that I want to update. Again, update can have hundreds of specimens. You can update any column you want. And in order to transfer specimens from one location to another, this is the only way to do it through the CSV file. There is no transfer event here available in the templates. If you see, if you search for events, there is no transfer event. So in order to update location, you need to use the specimen template, and you can have the new location here along with the positions if you want, or you can leave the position blank and it will put it in the next available slot. And that will create a transfer event automatically. So let's see if that happens. I'm just going to save this file. I choose the specimen and I choose the CSV I have saved. This time the import type would be update. And I don't have any date time for field, so I'm just going to ignore this and I'll say validate and import. Okay, it's still in progress. I refreshed, it's success. So now I'll go back to this specimen. Actually, did I close that? Yeah. Just going to go back to that specimen. And now if you see, sorry, the location is updated. It put in the next available slot in that box. Available quantity is updated and the comments is also updated. And it also adds a transfer event. You see that it was the to location, from location was not stored. So it adds a transfer event. So similarly, it is, I had done it for other aliquots as well. So I can click on any aliquot and see that it put it in the next available slot. The quantity of the next specimen was 0.2, comment was training 2, and so on, and a transfer event. So this way you can bulk edit specimens. So again, the steps were similar. You use the record type, same download template file, but now in my file, I keep only the fields that I want to update. You can keep other fields as well. You can leave it blank and you choose the operation as update. Yeah, so now, how do you blank out values, right? So now, because I told in update, you can keep the column, but leave it blank. It will not update any record. So if you want to blank out any data, so what you need to do is you need to specifically put in your records that, let me just show you, blank out. So you need to specifically put this text in order to blank out a field. Because if you just have fields like, if you see here, if you have the column name and the values as just blank like this, it will ignore those columns. It's not going to do anything to it. Because in update operation, you can keep all the columns of your template and only the columns that you have data in, those only will be updated. If you want to blank out, you have to specifically put this. For example, now if I see this specimen, it has this comment right now. Now I want to blank it out. So I need to put this comment. And if you want to look for that text, if you just search in our wiki, updating value as blank in using bulk import, it will tell you that this is the text to use. So now if I want to blank out, again, I choose the specimen data. It's going to be specimen template. Choose the file, which is going to be my blank out CSV, update again, and validate and import. So this is success. Now if I search for that specimen, there's no more comments field. So that value is blanked out. So similarly, you can blank out any value. Of course, you can blank out only optional fields because mandatory fields cannot be blank. So that can be, if you try to blank out mandatory field, it's going to fail and show you error. Now that I'm talking about failed, I just wanted to show you how a failed report looks like. So when a particular record, or when you upload data and if something is failed, it will show you against failed, and there is a report. So you can download that report, and that report looks something like this. So it will have the same columns you had before, and additionally it will add these two columns because I had missed out the PPID while updating the patient. So it is telling me that PPID is required. So this way now I can edit the same file and upload. Even if I keep these columns as it is, the system is going to ignore this. So that is one more tip for you. The data that you import, if you have any additional columns other than the template columns, the system is just going to ignore. So you don't have to worry about additional columns here. So you need to make sure that the fields that are required are there. Even for the values that are not part of dropdown, all those errors will be properly shown like this. Yeah, so that was a bit about update specimen. Now there was, with the update, you also saw another operation, which is update else create. So what this will do is, suppose in my patient creation, let me just open the specimen template. Let's open participant, okay. Yeah, so here suppose I used this update else create. What it will do is, if it will search for the unique IDs, and if that unique ID is already present, it's just going to update that patient. If you try to use create, it's going to throw an error that this patient already exists. Whereas if you use this operation, it will make sure that it will check every record. If that patient is already existing, it will update or create that record. So that is what this means. It update else create. This was specifically asked by one of our clients where they're loading data from an external system, and the data that they receive, they don't know whether it's an update operation or a create operation. So they had to every time, separate out the data manually, which is update versus create. So now they don't have to do that. If there is a unique field that can identify if it's the patient or specimen is already existing, it will update. If it's not existing, it will create. That is one thing I wanted to point out. And other thing about this validate and import. So every time you upload a file, it validates the records. Now, suppose out of 10 records, one record fails. Whether you want the other 9 to be uploaded or all 10 should not be uploaded until you fix all the errors. That's a configuration you can change. So in settings, there is the validation limit. If you see here, so here if you see right now, this pre-validation record limit is set to this. Now what this will mean is, any number of records I upload below this number, it will validate the file first. So if there is even one record which is failed, then the whole file will not be uploaded. So if there are 100 records and even if one failed, all 100 will be kept as it is. It will not be uploaded. If I keep this value as 0, then if I upload 100, even if one fail, the 99, if they're success, the 99 will be uploaded. So this is something you can choose between these two. If you want to first validate the whole file, and if you don't want certain records to be uploaded, then you can keep this as a higher number. Yeah, so finally, we have also functionality to upload files. By default, OpenSpecimen has fields to upload consent files and surgical pathology report, but you also have functionality to upload files in custom fields, right? Because you can create custom file type custom fields. Now, how to upload files in bulk? So for that, I'm going to use consent as an example. So if you go to biospecimen data, choose the consents as the file, the template. If you download the template file, this is how it will look like. I'm just going to show you. So it has all the fields of the consent, but there is also a field for signed consent form. So what you can do is you can put the file names over here and you create a structure or like this, which is you have the consent CSV, which has data about the consents, and the files folder, which will have all the list of the consent files. So in my example, I'm just going to close all files over here. And I'm going to show you this, which has the data. So these are the basic information about the consent. This is the patient ID, date, some comments. But here, if you see, I have my consent file names also. So for that patient, whatever the consent file name is, I put it here, over here. The same name consent files, I put it in a files folder and I put it over here. So now what I need to do is a combination of these two. I need to create a zip file. So I compress that and I create a zip file. Make sure you create a zip file of the file and the files folder and not put it in a folder and then zip it. So that will not going to, that's not going to work. So it has to be like a zip folder of these two. And once you have created that, so you go back here. Before that, I'm just going to show you this patient. So this patient, if you see, there's no consent data right now. There's no consent file. So when I upload that, so I need to go to participants, specimen data. I choose the record type as consents, choose the file. What I need to choose now is the zip file, which has a combination of CSV, which has the data about the consent, the name of the files, and a files folder, which has a list of all those files as a zip file. And then I upload it. So this got failed. Let's see what the issue is. Oh, sorry, there was the date field. I forgot to put the date format. Okay, now this is success. Now if I search for that patient, and go to the consents, you see that that file got uploaded. It has date, all the comments. If I want, even I can put these values also in my CSV. I had not put it, but this is just an example. Similarly, if you want to upload SPR files, right, in the visit, we have this feature of consent SPR files. So you can upload SPR files, you can upload custom field files. Those can also be uploaded in bulk, like using this feature. Yeah, so those were different operations. There are multiple templates for uploading child specimens as well. You can upload child specimens using normal specimen template. This is useful if you want to have single row for every child specimen because you want to put the label information and so on. There are other templates as well, like for example, Alicot template. One row is for multiple Alicots. This will only work when the labels are auto-generated for Alicots. So you can use that Alicot template that way. Derivative is for derivative. There's not much difference between these two. It's just that the fields in the derivative template are lesser than the main specimen template because not all fields are required for creating a derivative. So these are some templates to create the child specimens. Again, when you're creating child specimens, the parent should already have been created and that parent label needs to be specified in your child templates. And the lineage is important, whether it's a derived specimens or Alicot, you need to specify that. The rest of the details remains the same as the specimen templates. Yeah, so and when you're doing large uploads, especially if you're doing large uploads for legacy data migrations, say if you're doing 100K plus, we generally break into multiple files so that, if there are some errors, it can be handled easily. And we also give recommendation that you do it during off-peak hours, because you might have to change some configurations. Because you're uploading so much data, it might slow down. And the bulk operations happens in a thread, because if you do say 10 bulk imports together, it does it one after another, right? When if you do it during the normal hours, someone might be just uploading 10 records, but they have to wait till your upload happens, which might be hundreds of records. So generally large uploads, we recommend that you do it during off peak hours. And also during those large records, when we upload, what we do is we first upload just one or two records, so that we identify if there are any commonly common mistakes. We try to fix that in all the files, all the records, and then upload it. So just try it out for a couple of records. If that works fine, then you split the large file into multiple files and upload it. As for the resources, I mentioned that this is one of the main resources we have for bulk import. If you go to bulk import CSV, so there are some basic information about bulk imports, and there is introduction about how you can use, what are the best practices, settings which you can use, configure, and so on. And finally, for every template of OpenSpecimen, the default templates, we have a separate page which has a data dictionary, which will tell you how to use each field. There is also a sample CSV for every template. So these are some of the resources. So we would recommend you refer to this when you're doing bulk imports for the first time. So those are the things that we wanted to cover today. Any questions from anyone? You can unmute yourself now. And if there are any, I know a lot of you use it regularly. So if there are any specific enhancements that you're looking for, please do let us know so that we can consider in the next version. There is a question: have you added the ability to through the UI to bulk edit a list of specimen to allow for different values for each specimen, for instance concentration? No, so right now that's not possible, but yes, a couple of users have asked for this. So this is a question. When we do bulk edit, right now it applies the same value for all the specimens, kind of a table view that is available right now for events. Edit events is there where you can do like a table view. Right now that's not there for the normal fields. Yeah, we can think about supporting similar one for the normal fields. Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, thanks everyone. We'll share the recording, and anyone who has missed from your institutes can visit that. And for any future webinars, if you have any topics in mind, let us know and we'll try to cover that as well. Thanks everyone for joining. Have a good day. Bye-bye.